Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
So we're just down by the canal at King's Cross.
Yeah.
You can see the nice canal boats. And it's a nice little area. So just going for a walk and trying to find a nice place to read Srimad Bhagavatam.
There's Canto 3. We're still on Canto 3, but we're starting a new chapter. It's chapter 7, text 1. And the chapter is entitled Further Inquiries by Vidura. He's got a lot of inquiries.
Let's see what else he has to ask about.
Yeah.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Text 1. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, O king, while Maitreya, the great sage, was thus speaking, Vidura, the learned sage of Dwapayana Vyas, the learned son of Dwapavaya Vyas,
Dwapayana,
expressed a request in a pleasing manner by asking this question. Text 2. Sri Vidura said, O great Brahmana, since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a complete spiritual whole and is unchangeable, how is he connected with the material modes of nature and their activities? If this is his pastime, how do the activities of the unchangeable take place and exhibit qualities without the modes of nature?
It's a pretty powerful question.
Purport. As described in the previous chapter, the difference between the Supersoul, the Supreme Lord, and the living entities is that the activities of the Lord in creating the cosmic manifestation are performed by the Lord through the agency of his multifarious energies, but this manifestation is bewildering to the living entities. The Lord is therefore the master of the energies, whereas the living entities are subjugated by them. By asking various questions about transcendental activities, Vidura is clearing the misconception that when the Lord either descends on the earth in his incarnation or appears himself with all his potencies, he too is subjected to the influence of Maya, just like an ordinary living entity. This is generally the calculation of less intelligent philosophers who consider the position of the Lord and that of the living entities to be on the same level. This don't make sense, does it? Vidura is hearing the great sage Maitreya refute these arguments. The Lord is described in these verses Chinmatra, or completely spiritual. The personality of Godhead has unlimited potencies to create and manifest many wonderful things, both temporary and permanent. Because this material world is the creation of its external energy, it thus appears to be temporary. It is manifested at certain intervals, maintained for some time, and again dissolved and conserved in his own energy. As described in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 19, Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate. But the creation of his internal potency, the spiritual world, is not a temporary manifestation like the material world, but is eternal and full of transcendental knowledge, opulence, energy, strength, beauties, and glories. Such manifestations of the Lord's potencies are eternal and are therefore called nirguna, or free from all tinges of the modes of material nature, even up to the mode of material goodness. The spiritual world is transcendental even to material goodness and thus is unchangeable. Since the Supreme Lord of such eternal and unchangeable qualities is never subjugated by anything like material influence, how can his activities and form be conceived to be under the influence of illusory energy, as is the case with the living entities?
Any thoughts?
Yeah, it just seems so obvious that if you accept that there is a God, of course he's going to be greater than you and have qualities that are better and different than you. Otherwise, step aside. You don't need to be my God. I need you to be better. I need you to be more powerful. I need you to be the all creator. Otherwise, what is the point?
Well, I think the point is that people are interested in bringing the Lord down to their level so that they can be seen as God. And that's what Prabhupada keeps speaking about, that it's the last snare of Maya, right?
Right, so that's the point. Then the concentration shouldn't be on pulling apart God, but we need to pull apart these rascals. That what is your problem? This is your problem because you want to be God. That's why you keep belittling the real God.
Yeah, but that is the problem, and that's what Prabhupada does. That's why he's trying to tear apart this Mayavad philosophy at every possible opportunity.
He needs to tear them apart.
Okay, dying to string a Dave. A juggler or magician displays many wonders with acts and arts. He can become a cow by his magical tactics, and yet he is not that cow. But at the same time, the cow displayed by the magician is not different from him. Similarly, the material potency is not different from the Lord because it is an emanation from him. But at the same time, the manifestation of potency is not the Supreme Lord. The Lord's transcendental, Lord have mercy, the Lord's transcendental knowledge and potency always remain the same. They do not change even when displayed in the material world. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord descends to the earth by his own internal potency, and therefore there is no question of his becoming materially contaminated, changed, or otherwise affected by the modes of material nature. The Lord is Saguna by his own internal potency, but at the same time he is Nirguna, since he is not in touch with the material energy. The restrictions of the prison house are applicable to the prisoners who are condemned by the king's laws, but the king is never affected by such implications, although he may visit the prison house out of his good will. In the Vishnu Purana, the 6 opulences of the Lord are stated to be non-different from him. The opulences of transcendental knowledge, strength, opulence, potency, beauty, and renunciation are all identical with the personality of Godhead. When he personally displays such opulences in the material world, they have no connection with the modes of material nature. The very word Chin Matratva is the guarantee that the Lord's activities are always transcendental, even when displayed in the material world. His activities are as good as the Supreme Personality himself. Otherwise, liberated devotees like Shukadeva Goswami would not have been attracted by them. Vidura inquired how the Lord's activities can be in the modes of material nature, as is sometimes miscalculated by persons with a poor fund of knowledge. The inebriety of the material qualities is due to the difference between the material body and the spirit soul. The conditioned soul's activities are displayed through the medium of the modes of nature and are therefore perverted.
Perverted
in appearance. However, the Lord's body and the Lord himself are one and the same. And when the Lord's activities are displayed, they are certainly non-different from the Lord in all respects. The conclusion is that persons who consider the Lord's activities material are certainly mistaken. That was such a long paragraph.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah.
That whole purport was only 2 paragraphs. And it seems that Prabhupada is just again stressing on this point that the Lord is Saguna because he comes from his own, he's created of his own energy, his internal energy, and he's Nirguna, not because he doesn't have any form, which is a declaration that is made by the impersonalist, but he's Nirguna because Nir means without. He doesn't touch any of the material gunas, and Saguna because he has his own guna. His own guna is the pure spiritual form. So like that.
Text 3. Boys are enthusiastic to play with other boys or with various diversions because they're encouraged by desire. But there is no possibility of such desire for the Lord, because he is self-satisfied and detached from everything at all times. Purport. Since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is one without a second, there is no possibility that anything exists besides him. There is no possibility that anything besides him can exist. He expands himself by his energies in multi forms of self-expansions and separated expansions as well, just as fire expands itself by heat and light. Since there is no other existence besides the Lord himself, the Lord's association with anything manifests his association with himself. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 4, the Lord says, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina matstani sarva bhutani nachaham tveshvastita. The complete manifestation of the cosmic situation is an expansion of the Lord himself in his impersonal feature. All things are situated in him only, yet he is not in them. That is the opulence of the Lord's attachment and detachment. He is attached to everything, yet he is detached from all.
Any thoughts, reflections?
Yeah, it's interesting how in one sense there's nothing in existence apart from Krishna. And that's it really. So you have to be self-satisfied, because it's like everything's a creation, manifestation of him, so it's not different. It is him. So you've got to be pleased in yourself, otherwise it could get a bit boring.
I don't understand that.
Well, it's like if we're here, just in this environment, all these people are completely different. So I don't know these, I don't know these people. It's something new. But if I created them all, I know them inside out, upside down. So I've got to be happy with myself, because otherwise,
oh, you mean
nothing
you're
new to
talking
know.
from the perspective of God. God has to be happy with himself.
Yeah. In which it says here, he is.
Yeah, of course he's self-satisfied.
He's self-satisfied, detached at all times.
Yeah, I always find it interesting that it says that all things are situated in him only, yet he is not in them. And very often people ask the question, well, I thought he is in everything, so how come it says he's not in them? Well, because he, meaning Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original, isn't in everyone, but his expansion, his super soul, or Paramatma or Kshirodakshai Vishnu, is in everything, but he himself remains an individual, singular person, separated from everything, although he is the cause of everything. Like that. Does that make sense? Like that. Okay, so text number 4. By his self-sheltered potency of the 3 modes of material nature, the Lord has caused the creation of this universe. By her, he maintains the creation, and conversely dissolves it again and again. Purport. This cosmic universe is created by the Lord for those living entities who are carried away by the illusory thought of becoming one with him by imitation. The 3 modes of material nature are for the further bewilderment of the conditioned souls. The conditioned living entity, bewildered by the illusory energy, considers himself a part of the material creation due to the forgetfulness of his spiritual identity, and thus he becomes entangled in material activities life after life. This material world is not for the purpose of the Lord himself, but is for the conditioned souls who wanted to be controllers due to misuse of their God-gifted minute independence. Thus, the conditioned souls are subjected to repeated birth and death. So this world isn't a place for Krishna to come and try to enjoy. It's a place that he created to fulfill the desires of his parts and parcels, to come and try to enjoy. And when they come here, they begin to think that they are part of this material energy because they become forgetful of their original spiritual identity. So therefore, they become consumed by the material energy, thinking that they're part and parcel of the material energy, like that.
Text 5. The pure soul is pure consciousness and is never out of consciousness, either due to circumstances, time, situations, dreams, or other causes. How then does he become engaged in niscience? The consciousness of the living being is always present and never changes under any circumstances, as above mentioned. When a living man moves from one place to another, he is conscious that he has changed his position. He is always present in the past, present, and future, like electricity. One can remember instances from his past and can conjecture about his future also on the basis of past experience. He never forgets his personal identity, even though he is placed in awkward circumstances. How then can the living entity become forgetful of his real identity as pure spirit soul and identify with matter unless influenced by something beyond himself? The conclusion is that the living entity is influenced by the avidya potency, as confirmed in both the Vishnu Purana and the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. The living entity is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 7.5 as Para Prakriti, and in the Vishnu Purana he is mentioned as the Para Shakti. He is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord as potency and not as the potent. The potent can exhibit many potencies, but the potency cannot equal the potent at any stage. One potency may be overcome by another potency, but to the potent, all potencies are under control. The Jiva potency, or the Kshetra Gyan Shakti of the Lord, has the tendency to be overpowered by the external potency, avidya, karma, samaj. And in this way he is placed in the awkward circumstances of material nature. The living entity cannot be forgetful of his real identity unless influenced by the avidya potency. Because the living entity is prone to the influence of the avidya potency, he can never equal the supreme potent.
It's getting a little rowdy around here now.
Yeah.
I think we might need to wrap up.
Yeah. The potency of the Lord.
Yeah, the potency for association and
Yeah, because everyone's coming out slowly out of lockdown now.
and the enjoying spirit
And it's, nice weather.
starting to be. And it's Bank Holiday weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Which you'll be watching this well after Bank Holiday weekend.
Yeah, you'll watch it next Friday.
But anyway, Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you very much for joining us and hearing from Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam. It's very important to hear and remind ourselves perpetually that we are spiritual beings in the material world with a material body, and that we're eternal parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, and our lives become perfected when we hear and remind ourselves about Him and this fact. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.